Welcome to Healing Highs with Lara, where we talk about the highlights and serendipitous moments of our healing journeys. I'm your host, Lara, an international energy healer for animals and humans. Thank you for being here. I love sharing these stories with you. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. You may hear purring or see a tail or two. Cha-Cha is really trying to find a way to get to me, and usually she can sit on my lap when we're doing this, but the way I'm set up right now, she's not happy because she can't get to my lap. But anyways, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. I was moving through some really interesting things last week that I can't wait to share. And the whole time they were happening, I kept thinking, I can't wait to talk about this on the podcast. A couple of you know a shorter version of what happened, but it was hard to give all the details. I had a dream that was absolutely real about me basically almost getting kidnapped by fae or fairies, which is so crazy to say. If you know me, you know my dreams are very psychic, I have a lot of medium experience in my dream that proves to be extremely valid. I've predicted things. I've done soul retrieval in my dreams. They're very intense and very specific. And so, although this was a dream, quote unquote, it was a true experience. And I know it was because of what happened afterwards that validated all of that. So let's get into it. I can't wait to tell you about it. Basically, I had a dream that I was leaving a party and I was driving and I couldn't open my eyes in driving, which I thought was a common experience for people where you're driving and you feel like you can't open your eyes, because that does happen to me a lot. It's almost like you're sleeping. You're very sleepy while you're driving and you keep like waking yourself up, like you're driving, wake up. But as I've told a few people this, they're saying that's not common. So I left the party and couldn't open my eyes. And I kind of was in my head about it, like, am I drunk or am I just really sleepy? And I couldn't figure it out. And so I was trying to call people and talk to them while I was driving, on like the speakerphone, trying to like keep myself awake, keep myself alert, but it wasn't working. And I just kept feeling this need to like focus, and I couldn't. And I was driving like right now I'm driving a truck in real life, and it was similar to that, but even bigger, and I couldn't even see the road. And I was thinking like, why am I driving this car? Like, this is so ridiculous. And so all of a sudden, I am very slowly inching towards a wall, like almost like if your car was rolling and it taps a wall. And I look up and I see this wall with all these vines. And it was the wall of my childhood street that we had lived on a street that dead ended. And it was that wall. We used to climb that wall and go to on the other side was the police station, which is very interesting to what's going to happen next. So I kind of like was like, oh my gosh, I hit the wall and what's going on? I really needed to snap out of this. And so I start driving and I'm going up and down these huge hills. And to the left is a lot of water. And up ahead, I see on the right, there's dinosaurs. And I keep going up these hills, down these hills, until I come to a gas station. And I decide, I'm going to get out, get some gas, like kind of get some fresh air. And suddenly I'm sitting in the back of what's like an SUV. I'm sitting in the trunk with my feet hanging out. And what happens is all of a sudden I feel extremely heavy in my body, almost like I'm starting to feel paralyzed. And it gets more and more intense to the point that I am feeling paralyzed. I barely have any movement of my body. I'm holding my wallet open, trying to get a card out to buy gas, but I literally can't move my arms. I can't move any part of my body. And then I hear, you know how police cars have like a specific sound? I hear a police car pull up in front of my car. So I'm on the other side. And when that happens, I try to tell myself, like, hurry up, move, like, do something, because they're going to think you're drunk and you're not. And if you're not moving, they're going to, not believe you. And so I'm trying to move and I can't. And so all of a sudden, if you're watching, Chacho's tail is just going back and forth like a windshield wiper. All of a sudden, the police start to walk past the car on the right-hand side of me, but they're looking away. So all I see is the backs of their heads, their uniforms. They have that like kind of typical haircut or hairstyles that police often have as part of their uniform. And after it gets to about like 6 or 7 of them, they all stop. And there's a woman next to me and a man behind her, kind of behind the car, like not behind the car, but between the car and me. Sorry, on the other side of the car. So it's like the woman, I could touch her, but this man at the end of the line, I couldn't, because the car window would be in the way. So he's on the other side of the car. And I'd have to turn to the right to see him, but I could see him in my peripheral. So they're all, again, looking away from me. But at the exact same time, they all turn and look at me. And when they turn and look at me, they're all not wearing police uniforms. They're not the police. And they're all wearing different clothing that would be from all different parts of the world. And they're all different shapes and sizes and tall and short. And they're all literally turned at the same time, looking at me with this like very hollow, blank stare, but also like sinister and a little bit of a smile. And immediately I say to myself in the dream, oh, this isn't a dream. Where are the police? And I'm kind of like, oh, shit. And I can't move. I scared my cat when I said that. She could totally feel the energy. So I'm looking at them and I'm internally freaking out. And I can tell they're going to take me. They want to try to take me. And I can't move. So the woman who is next to me holds this tiny little wand. It's like, and I call it a wand now that I know more about it, but at the time it was just looked like a stick that was 3 or 4 inches tall, had like a tiny little poof on the top that had like strings of shimmeriness all around it. And she very, again, sinister energy, says to me, do you play? And then puts the little stick right on my cheek, and I feel it burning. And she says, can you feel? And the way she's talking is like someone that has learned a language but hasn't mastered it. And so they're missing like parts of the, like, can you feel that? Or do you like to play? It makes sense, but it just felt not complete. And again, like they didn't feel human. And so she says, can you feel? And I feel this burning in my cheek, and I can feel my body becoming paralyzed, where before it was very heavy, almost like I was paralyzed, but now it is becoming. And so I get all the adrenaline and energy I can, and I squeeze all my muscles super tight, and I push my hand to knock it off of my face. And I can tell that I got it in time to where it didn't fully take me over, but it did affect me. And I fall on the ground, and I can feel like the sticks and things under my hands. And at this point, the other police, not police, non-humans, start to make a circle around me, like a semicircle in front of me. And one of the women walks up to me smiling, like, again, no one said anything other than those 2 questions that first woman asked. But the energy kind of telepathically was, we're going to take you, and we're just waiting for you to pass out or not be able to control your body. And so she walked up getting ready to help with that, waiting for the whatever essence to take effect. And because it didn't fully work, the man that, again, was like kind of a little out of my peripheral vision, I guess I was kind of turned towards him, and I see him, his arms are crossed and he's really tall, and he pulls out another one of those little sticks, and he does it very like da da da, but not in a happy way. And I'm trying to describe it if you're not watching me on video, which I know a lot of you don't. So, and then he hands it like very like an offering to that woman again, the first woman. And she takes it and she goes to do it again on my cheek. And I push myself off the ground again, like all my might, have to push myself, grab it from her, use it towards the second woman on her cheek. And she just stares at me. And again, it's this feeling, there's no talking, but there's this feeling like, you think that's going to work on us? We created that. And so again, in my head, I'm thinking, oh shit. And something about me resisting and doing that broke a part of this enchantment or spell. And I felt a momentum in my body that I suddenly could leave. And it made them sort of take a step back. So I turned and ran and got in the car, which would have been the passenger side, but it's a dream. So you know how that goes. So now I'm driving away. Something did happen after that, but when I woke up and wrote it down, I got to that part and forgot what it was. It just left my brain. So that is essentially the dream. And when I was driving away, I woke up and, well, something else happened that I don't remember. And then I woke up and I grabbed my phone. It was 4:44. I typed out every part of the dream I could remember. And before that happened, before I even looked at my phone, because nothing in that dream tells me, oh, this is fairy, this is fae, nothing. But when I woke up, my brain went, that was fae, that was fairy. And I'm so used to fairies. I know it could be anything, but I'm so used to them being fun and funny and positive and helpful that I sort of was arguing with my brain. But often that type of drop in of knowledge is fact. So I know better. But so I wrote everything out. The next day, I look over it and then I start to research because I needed validation that this was like something Irish folklore, Celtic folklore, something. So I start researching it, and literally every part of the dream comes back as folklore of stories of things that happened to people that they would tell as tales, but where did the tales come from? And also, I've never heard these stories before. And so just to break it down for you, the hills that I was driving through, literally every part of my dream was detailed in these folklore that I was reading about. So it was like the hills that I was driving through are considered the mounds and hills of certain fae culture. And I won't even pretend to pronounce them because they're very Scottish, Irish, and I just don't want to disrespect them. As a person that has a hard first and last name, I just don't want to try to say something I don't know how to say. But what I found was many names of different types of fae culture that live in hills and mounds, and also some sinister ones. And I believe, I will try to say this, I believe the one that I encountered was Unslee, Unslee court. And what happened was, what I've pieced together from what I've read, is when I was driving, because I was sort of out of it, I was in an in-between state in my dream. And then driving on those hills, it's as if I'm driving past their entrance over and over again. And so, of course, they're going to notice me. So it wasn't like they were targeting me, but it was, if you're seeing someone drive past your house, you're like, I've seen that car drive by a number of times. What's happening? So they come to approach me. And then when I felt the heaviness and the paralyzation energy before the police, quote unquote, even showed up, it's because that's what happens before they even enter your space, is you already start to feel the paralytic effects of what they're going to try to do to you. And then they will offer you a gift, an essence, a glimmer, I think is what that wand is, and try to either paralyze you or to have you agree to something. When they said to me, "Do you play?" I just stared at her and watched her walk by me. If I would have said an answer that was in agreement, that would mean I was agreeing to the rules of the game, which ultimately means they're winning and they take me. So there was a number of things that were matching in the folklore that I experienced of them attempting to get me into their realm. And then the way they're described and how they dress or how they appear, it just all fit this certain one. And I then wanted to keep researching, like, what would have happened if they took me? And when I was telling a few people, they were asking that too. And so it seems like they want you to come and kind of be their entertainment. It was that you would come and dance and sing and play their games, and they control you, basically. And then it said something like, if you were, how did it say it? Basically, it was something to the point of, if someone gets taken, it may seem like you're there hours, but you're there years. And then it talked about changelings, which is where you get changed out. So you're there and something else is in your body. So all of that was extremely fascinating. And the thing I felt, okay, this is an interesting experience. And again, as it was unfolding, I just couldn't wait to share it with you all. I was a little worried that, was I targeted? But the whole, you're driving past the entrance because you're going on those mounds and hills, it seemed like not. And one of the things that also reinforced for me and validated of what I was experiencing was that I had the water on one side and the dinosaur, and it was essentially saying that you're starting to travel between worlds when you see those types of things, which makes sense. And so I think that was everything that, I mean, yeah, the wand, they offer you a gift if they want you to agree with them or play with them. And if you accept it, you're accepting the terms. There were so many parts of it that were validated in what I was reading, that like I said, my dreams are not dreams, quote unquote. I have those types of dreams. I can tell the difference. I've predicted bad things. I've predicted good things. I've connected with people, that aren't related to me and shared a message with someone else, and it was validated and specific. So my dreams, I know when they're dreams and when they're not dreams. And this was not a dream. And even in the dream, I said, oh no, this is not a dream. So that was a very interesting experience that I've never had before that I can remember. And I really, really wanted to share it with you all. If you have any questions or if this has ever happened to you, please let me know. I did reach out to somebody, and I should have pulled it up before I got on here, but let me pull it up. I looked up somebody that has written a lot about fairies, and a few people came up, but I reached out to one person and they did get back to me. Maybe I could ask them if they want to be on the podcast. So I'm just looking for them. Okay, their name is Morgan Demier. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I told her a very tiny, it's a message. I was keeping it short. I told her a very tiny bit about what happened. And just said, can you refer any readings to me or anything that could help me to learn more, because I was already validating my experience. So they wrote back, that does sound very fairy. I might suggest Joshua Cutchin's book, Thieves in the Night. He looks at the crossover between alien and fairy experiences, which look at abduction stories. So that's a whole other thing. And I will be getting that book. That's a whole other thing to even imagine that crossover, right? So that'll be on my list of books to read. So yeah, I really wanted to share that with you all. I just thought it was so fascinating. Please share with me anything that you may have experienced that is similar, or questions that you have, because I did extensive research. I was so amazed by what I was experiencing. And then actually, I would say about maybe a week later, 5 or 6 days later, I had another dream that it was kind of starting, and I don't remember what happened before it, but there were 2 women, and they were dressed like business-ish outfits, and they turned at the same time. It was a similar energy. And what was interesting is Cha-Cha, who was the one that was really showing off to you all, and has now retired to her quarters. She woke me up. And I remember thinking, oh gosh, I'm so glad I woke up before any that stuff happened again. And then the next morning I remembered she's the one that woke me up. And that's what cats are here for, to protect you and your space, and especially black cats. They have very specific, each type of cat has such specific strengths. That is one of black cat's strengths. And I know for sure it's my cat's strength. And yeah, so I just told her thank you, and please do it again if you need to. So I thought, in the theme of fairies, which last season we had one episode about fairies that Faith Strang came and we had her episode, and then as she and I were talking before we recorded that, we were thinking, we both love fairies. We should do 2 episodes today, and the second one be about fairies. So you can go back and find that in season 2. If you want to hear more stories about fairies, she's had experiences in, I believe, Ireland with fairies. So, yeah, I think I said this, but the things that I looked up that reminded me, it was very Celtic folklore, I believe, is what I looked up. Okay, so instead of getting kidnapped by fairies, let's talk to some good ones. I thought what would be fun is I have 2 fairy oracle decks, and I could pull a card from each and give you guys a message for the collective before we wrap up the episode for the day. So I'll pull from this one first. So this is actually the first deck I ever had in my whole life. So I've had this deck for, 20 years, which is not that long, since recently on the first episode of this season, my sister was on, and she shared our grandmother's tarot deck that my sister got like 40 years ago from my grandmother, and then my grandmother had them forever. They're so cool. Like, I've seen them. They're just, yeah, they're super cool. So this will be a reading for the collective of listeners with this fairy deck. And so I will show you the card. It is, I haven't done these ones in so long. I need to look up the description. I'll read it to you. So the card says positive expectations, and I'll show it to you. the light. Put her in the light. Okay. Gorgeous. Oh, so pretty. I just want to be a fairy, but not the kind they were trying to make me be. They're so pretty. Sorry. I used to have this really strange shaped hallway. It was so wide that I remember one time I had a bunch of guests over and I ran out of beds for everyone. So I put my futon in the hallway and there was still room for everyone to walk by and use the restroom and stuff because the hallway was so wide. And so I had all my fairy stuff. I used to, because I would buy everything fairy, but I used to have a rule that I could only buy something that was fairy related if I was on a trip. So it was very unique and it reminded me of a place. So I got one in Italy and I got, different vacations and things. And so I had like my whole hallway. They were in shelves and hanging and I loved it. And since then, that was 20 years ago, they all were getting broken over time and not my fault. I won't get into it. But one has been glued and re-glued so many times, but I keep her. She's somewhere else, like where no one can get to her because I love her so much. She's so pretty and her outfit is so cute. Anyways, back to the card. So the card is positive expectations. The meaning is keep up your hopes, dreams, affirmations, visualizations, and prayers as they will be wonderfully manifested right now. Don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle occurs. And you could say this affirmation: I am safe, confident, and secure. I feel joyful about my future. It says, at the earliest convenience, go outside in nature. Mentally converse with your friends, the fairies. They are absolute experts at manifestation. Tell them your doubts, your fears, your hopes and dreams, and ask the fairies to help you release any negativity you may have and feel them surround you with healing and loving light. Oh, that's so good, because I was just doing that with my ancestors and spirit team, and now I'm going to do it with the fairies. And if you're planting anything, also ask the fairies to help you with that. Okay, so this is a different deck. One was called Healing with the Fairies. This one's called Fairy Tarot Cards. They're very shiny. So this one, I'll also pull one for the collective. You can tell I haven't used these very much because they're so, rigid. Okay. So this one is the Wheel. Delays are over. Sudden or unexpected good luck. A new car or travel. So I'll show you the back because the back is really pretty. It's like a white wings. And then the card, the wheel, if you can see that, has the wheel and the fairy wings are orange. Okay. And then I am going to look this one up because I'm not familiar. I don't think I've really used this deck very much. And I don't even know if I would be able to. Okay, let's go to the table of contents. Right? That's what it's called. The wheel. Okay. Okay. The wheel. Delays are over and it's time to get moving again. The fairies are setting the stage for a magical time coming up for you that will allow you to make some hoped for changes. This card heralds happy synchronicities. Don't we love that for this podcast? Fortune smiling on you and all around good luck. Remember that fairies may have gotten things started, but you have to keep the momentum going. Your sudden movement forward may bring with it the need to do a little more research. If you are compelled to seek out answers to unanswered questions, do so with speed and optimism. Surround yourself with positive people who cheer you on and applaud your success. A fairy sits on a spinning wheel. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, that's cool. Creating beautiful strands of gold. However, in this case, the magic of the wheel creates waves and waves of golden hair for the fairy, a personal symbol of prosperity that is to come. New doors are opening, a lucky break, the forces of positive change, making progress. I love that. My mom has a spinning wheel. No, I didn't recognize that. Yeah, okay, I see it now. Amazing. Thank you so much for being here. I am going to ask the Void a question. Void, in light of my story, I'm trying to think how I want to ask this. No, sorry. I keep thinking of how I want to ask it. Kind of want to ask, how do you know I came back? And yeah, like, how do you know I came back from the dream and they didn't take me?
Look at your reflection and say, changelings suck.
Okay. Maybe we'll never know. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed that story, and I'll see you next time. So, as always, I wish you so much joy and serendipity on your healing journey, and I know our paths will cross again.